X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach and Adam!
Oh, Zach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I just came back from Gem City Comic-Con. It was a lot of fun, I assume. I'm speaking in terms of when you're listening to this, Zach, not a now Zach. Now Zach just had a salad and is recording this podcast before he goes and watches Enter the Spider-Verse with his child.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. We just got that on Blu-ray too. I'm excited to watch it again.
Yeah.
I've only seen it the once.
Yeah, I'm real pumped. My wife doesn't know what to expect yet. She got mad because I did say spoilers for this. But it was because I just assumed, and this will be spoilers for both Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and the greater Miles Morales story. So you can understand why, Adam, me being someone who has known about Miles for several years now, did not find this a spoiler.
Okay.
I told her that Spider-Man died, and that I made my child watch a movie where Spider-Man dies. And she's like, wow, spoilers! And I didn't have a good way to explain to her that, not really!
No, not for the not for the rest of us.
You'll be good!
Yeah. Well, next weekend's a big one. You know, we've got Endgame coming out, which I assume will be spoiled for you. And
no, I did actually update on that. Zach did get a babysitter.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
Yeah, so I'm going on a Friday. It's a 3-hour movie, and I get off an hour before then, and I have to drive home from work first also. So I'm essentially just not going to eat and not going to use the restroom for several hours. Which, guys, I'm just going to say this. I'm an old now. I am the frail old age of 27. And I've got to tell you, folks, there's nothing I want to do less than watch a 3-hour movie.
I'm okay with it. I do wish that they had just built in a little intermission time, you know, maybe a dancing Groot on screen for a good 10 minutes so everybody could like rush to the bathroom and refill the popcorn.
Adam, Groot is dead. I don't know how you
right. Oh yeah. Maybe zombie Groot. I don't know. Well, so
Groot
we've got
Ash.
Endgame coming out, and then next week, I'm assuming by the time this comes out, like almost the entire cast and characters on Game of Thrones will be dead.
Spoilers for Game of Thrones, guys. We don't actually know what happened last night.
No, but hour and a half Battle of Winterfell with
it's an hour and a half. I have work the next morning.
Oh yeah, me too. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, guys, Game of Thrones is trash television that I love.
Oh, it's great. It's great. But they do, have a tendency to, a lot of death. And we have a lot of death in our show today, actually.
I was waiting for the segue. I was waiting for it. I knew I thought we had missed the exit ramp, but then I saw you swerve around and pick it back up. So I'm real excited about this one, Adam.
You know who dies a lot, Zach?
The New Mutants.
They sure do. Why is that?
Because Charles Xavier has a significant life insurance policy on each and every one of them.
Wow, it's a money-making scheme then.
Yeah, how do you think the school functions?
Wow, that's really rough. I mean, you get the new kids in, then you go abandon them for your girlfriend in space, and then you just hope that they pay out. That's really mean, Charles.
Yeah, you remember that bus full of children that got bazookaed? In that one story we talked about?
Oh.
That was one of the most lucrative things Charles Xavier has ever invested in.
That's terrible. All right, why are we talking about the New Mutants this week? I'm assuming we have a good reason.
We have a great reason, because friend of the show, and friend of us, I guess we are the show, so everyone who's a friend of the show is a friend of the us.
I like that. Yes, friend of the us.
Friend of the us, Charlie Davis, went on over to patreon.com/XavierFiles, just threw too much money and said, talk about this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, the first story they wanted us to talk about is... Oh, wait, first, Charlie, thanks. You know that, though. You're the bomb diggity.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie. Anyway, first story they wanted us to talk about is New Mutants Dead Souls. It came out last year, written by now friend of the show, Maddie Rose, with art by Adam T. Gorham.
Yes.
I believe he pronounces it Gorham. Adam, what's this yarn, this tale about?
Well, we have an interesting lineup here of Richter, Boom Boom, Guido, Rain, and Ileana working on basically like an X-Files team.
Yep.
It turns out that they're working on behalf of Karma, who is in charge of the Hachi Corporation. And little do most of them know that they are on the trail of Karma's twin brother, Tron, who is out there somewhere and inhabiting all kinds of different things. And so each issue is kind of like a little micro supernatural adventure for this great cast to go and explore. And then it all gets tied together. And of course, along the way, there's some death.
Yeah. So we're going to spoil this series in total.
Yes.
Because that's what we do here, guys. I feel like you know that if there's a story we're talking about and you've been dying to read it, to hit that pause button, go onto that app, load it up, read it, and then come back and let us talk about it.
Yeah, and before we even talk about it, I mean, if you haven't read Dead Souls, you just missed one of the best X series to have come out in years. So definitely, if you don't want it spoiled, hit pause, go read it. All 6 issues are on Marvel Unlimited. Buy the trade, whatever you got to do, and then come back because we're gonna talk about all the little spoilers, even though I've already kind of spoiled part of it already.
Well, you figure out that Tron is behind it by issue 2, actually. Yeah. And I picked up on that this time around. I did not pick up on that issue 2 reading it the first time.
Well, if you have read the series and you go back and read the first couple of issues, Rosenberg is doing an amazing job of dropping clues and hints as you go along. But as you're reading it the first time through, and I was getting this in individual floppies at the time, I was like, this is super fun, but I'm not quite sure what's going on. Like,
oh yeah,
what the connective tissue is between zombies and frost giants, because the things that they pursue are super fun.
Yeah, so this seems like it's 6 one-shots,
Yeah.
but in reading it month to month, you pretty much felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Reading it all in one sitting, no, this feels like a very cohesive story, which that's impressive for Maddie to pull off here. It's great. There's the whole dark mystic elements that are going on. There's a lot of stuff about guilt in this, and you know, the New Mutants, who they've been through a lot of stuff, and all of these New Mutants feel like monsters. Some of them physically, like Rain, and some of them emotionally, like Guido, especially. You can feel his grief in this, and a lot of this gets explained through our center point of view character, Ileana Rasputin, Magic, the Dark Child. She actually gets a lot of focus in the 4th issue, which is a fake-out funeral for Richter.
Wow, but you don't know that. You know, this is one of the big cruxes of the series, is that it does appear as if Ileana has allowed Richter to die in this, like, really tragic plane crash. So we don't really realize that it's a fake-out until we get to issue 4, and it's a hell of a twist.
Yeah, I'm real here for that. It's great, and credit where credit is due to Adam Gorham, who does this horror and emotion and grief and action so well.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm very excited to see Punk Mambo, which is coming out, I think, in a week or so. That, you know, his indie title, but especially issue number 5, where they sort of they just basically break into Doctor Strange's house, and they go through these Escher like especially Rain and Guido have to go through these very like twisty maze-like things. The page layouts are outstanding.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
Gorham is outstanding here, and I think you and I have both said that I think we both kind of wish that Gorham was working on Uncanny right now, because I think he would really get Matthew's tone very, very well.
He would be able to draw a super hopeless, super depressing final stand for the X-Men type story that I think we've come to expect from Matty Rose's Uncanny. But yeah, I love the art in this. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love the fact that the story works. The character dynamics are fantastic. Even a character like Boom Boom, who gets relatively little to work with here from an emotional standpoint, gets to be the comedic backbone of the group, and she is so fun in that role.
The snark that comes out of Richter, that comes out of Boom Boom here, the emotional weight that comes through Rain and Guido kind of working through some of the stuff from Peter David's X Factor runs. It's tremendous, and it nails the characters so well, and it has a ton of... Matt Rosenberg has a ton of guts to say, I only have 6 issues. I'm going to end this thing with a hell of a cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, because here's the thing, guys. At the end of every issue, we have gotten a short story about Warlock, our good alien robot teenage space boy. And he's been living in a cabin. No one knows why.
Yeah, nobody knows why.
Look. Sometimes wait, shoot, I've got it. I don't know if this is the actual location, and this is happening in real time. This is a brain blast from Jimmy Neutron that's happening right here. At the beginning of Peter David, 2-time GLAAD Award winner Peter David's all-new X Factor, Cypher was just living in a cabin, and he was going to kill himself. I don't know if this is the same cabin, but in my head, in Retconville, in the realm of the Battle of the Atom Cannon, it's the same cabin, and while Cypher was having his weird internet addiction, which, boy, that's a thing that definitely has happened.
Yeah.
Warlock moseyed on over and said, well, no one's using this cabin. Anyway, something goes wrong with Warlock. Danny Moonstar tries to find him after he explodes a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little
and
unfortunate.
Himself.
But this results in pretty much the entire team becoming infected with the techno-organic
everyone
virus.
becomes a warlock at the end of this, including Ileana, who, with her magical abilities, could be described as a warlock.
It's a warlock. Wait, is this techno-organic or is this trans mode? What am I saying it right?
Don't know the difference.
Okay. Anyway, they're all
I
warlocks.
think the techno-organic virus is the specific strain of the transmode virus that has been removed from the Phalanx / Technarch control scheme, whatever gobbledygook, and is eating Cable's body, where the transmode virus is the one that Warlock gets when he touches you too much.
All right, so they've all been transmoded. And what's been cool is that since this little mini, this is carried over into Rosenberg's Astonishing run. It then has carried on into his Uncanny X-Men run. So it's part of continuity.
Yeah,
and
we've talked about it on this very podcast. And by we, I do mean myself and Emro, as I'm calling him now. Me and Emro talked at C2E2 about how he has been taking an approach, knowing that he's only going to have a limited time on different books, be it Uncanny X-Men that he knew he was only going to have a limited time on, or New Mutants, or Multiple Man, or Astonishing, and said, I'm going to still try and do Claremontian long-form storytelling with this small chunk of story that I have been given. And it works really well.
And I think it works really well. He's been able to carry over elements from Multiple Man, from Dead Souls, into what he did with Astonishing and what he did with Uncanny, with Ed and Kelly. So I think it's fantastic. Can
I ask, how do you feel about Karma and her characterization in this story? Because I did not personally have an issue with it, but I have seen people in the realms of comic book discussion who weren't happy with that.
Well, we're going to talk about another story where Karma is not necessarily a good guy per se later in this show. And I do think that Karma as a character historically has had some issues. You know what I mean?
How Karma is the second worst written New Mutant, and that's only because Magma's not written at all?
Yeah, I feel like Karma with, the twin scenario always, I mean, it's done very, very well here, but at the same time, she consistently seems to become a villain, in stories, or if it's not a villain, just enough of an antagonist to, be that position in the story. So it's a little bit tricky. So I can understand that. I don't have a real issue with how this is done because she's doing it for her own personal reasons. She just doesn't, I don't think, completely understand what it is that she's getting herself into.
Also, and here's a large Karma-based problem I have. Give me one Karma-centric story that is not about her friggin' family, because I don't care about her uncle, I don't care about her brother, I don't care about her brother and sister. Like, I just don't care about the Koimans.
Well, and I do think that is a tricky thing. The character didn't get a lot of screen time before she got abducted by the Shadow King, and then has come back sporadically, but you're right. Like, it's always defined by the familiar relationships, and they're not always the most interesting. I think the way it's done here, having Tron as the villain of the story, and the cause of all these supernatural events, I think it's pretty clever, and it works pretty well.
I also think if any writer wants a moral out for what Karma does here, well, it's the fact that she was driven mad by being half possessed by her evil brother. Which is explicit in the text.
Yeah, to the point where at the end of this, she picks up the phone and calls ONE, which is how they end up in a background of a panel in Astonishing. There's that level of specificity.
Yeah, anyway, this story's dope. I love it.
Oh, it's so good. So good. I loved rereading this. I think I hadn't read it and
that would be reasonable. It just came out recently.
Yeah, but it was so much fun to read it as a whole because it works really well as a trade.
Yeah, it's good. If you haven't picked this up, this has been one of the delights of the last year of X-Men. So go after this bad boy. Now, speaking of bad boys on our list, we have 216 bad boys. Bad boys, what you're gonna do when they come for you?
We're going to rank them.
Dang, yeah, that's right.
I knew that was rhetorical, but...
No, I'm glad you did. We have, like I said, 216 stories on our list, ranking from our number one story of Uncanny X-Men Days of Future Past, down to, let's say, 30, which is New Mutants 127, 60, which is the Pizza Hut X-Men stories, the collector's edition for full comics, not the mini comics, which we haven't ranked. I know. Number 90 is Avengers versus the X-Men, which is a controversial pick on our list. 120 is Uncanny X-Men 115 INH, Girls Night Out. 150 is Uncanny X-Men 206, Freedom is a 4-letter word. 180 is the first Adam X story. And 210 is the X-Men 100th Anniversary Special. There's 6 other stories on this list. They're worse. They're worse than that very bad 100th Anniversary Special for a comic that's only been running for like 56 years?
Hey, before we rank this, I think we would probably be remiss if we talked about this miniseries, and Charlie requested it, without us mentioning how absolutely delightful and hilarious Shatterstar is in the background of this, in the few scenes.
Here's what we know about Shatterstar from this miniseries. Shatterstar has strong opinions on brunch, even though he doesn't eat a lot. Shatterstar gets left at tables sometimes and is very confused. Shatterstar cooks in the nude, and due to the draconian censors at the Marvel Comics facility, yes, Jordan, I'm talking about you, we were not allowed to see that Shatterstar does have a matching Shatterstar face tattoo on his right bum cheek.
That's right. That's right. He also has excellent taste in sweaters, because Richter is apparently wearing... he admits to his the snakes in Doctor Strange's house that Shatterstar bought him a sweater.
Yeah, okay. So... Hold on. We gotta talk about... now that we've brought this tangent up.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's just I wore that sweater yesterday.
Hey, all right.
Me and Richter have the same sweater. Shatterstar bought it. Not for me, because he's fictional. I think either my wife bought it for me, or no, I think we just went to Kohl's and found it on the clearance rack.
Love it.
It's great. It's a nice, comfy cardigan. Yesterday was Easter as we're recording this, so it was perfect for our beautiful matching family Easter shoot.
I would be in love with a Shatterstar at Kohl's miniseries. I really would.
Look, it wouldn't be my least favorite Shatterstar miniseries.
All right, so I love this, and I think this is definitely top 50 material here.
Yeah, because this number 50 is X Factor: The Longest Night, and I think this is better than that. So, Matt, you did beat Peter David.
Oh, sure, big time. And I don't know. I can kind of see this going high. Like, I'm looking at 36.
Rogan Gambit from earlier this year or that year. Yes, it's better than that.
I think it's better than that. And I just keep looking up and up the list, because these are characters that I absolutely love. And I think this is quite possibly like one of the most perfect New Mutants miniseries. I just think it's amazing.
Is it better than number 26?
It's difficult to talk about flaws. You know what I mean?
It is difficult. Is it better than number 26, the New Mutants Inferno story? Because I think that's going to be the big...
all right. I think it is. I think that Inferno New Mutant story is so good and so classic, but this gets these characters so well and tells just such a unique, perfect contemporary story with them. I absolutely love it.
I think so. I'm gonna say this, and I don't know how far this will go. I do think if there are any flaws in this story, it's that this is, while it's a New Mutant story, it's an Ilyana Rasputin story first, and the rest of the team second, to the detriment of a couple of characters.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Boom Boom, like I mentioned, and I think Strong Guy doesn't have as much to do in this as I would like. Like, I like his resolution with Rain, but I wish there was within
more time.
Within like these 6 stories, I wish that tension was built up a little bit more. It's very satisfying for long-term readers to come back to this, but I'm not sure in the text of these 6 issues it did enough to push that forward. Now, this is again us going for nitpicks in a good story.
Well, yeah, and honestly, like, you finish issue 6, you want to read issue 7. Like, this could very easily have been an outstanding ongoing the way it was headed. I'm totally fine with it being, a mini. It does what it needs to do in those 6 issues. But you're right. Like, some of these things could have been developed longer. Where do you fall on better or worse than New Mutants Inferno?
I don't know. I know my ceiling is Life Death. I know this isn't better than Life Death.
Okay. Life Death 1.
Yes. I also know it's not better than Life Death 2. But that's just because Life Death 2 is higher.
No, I wouldn't put it that high. I think where I'm looking is I'm starting to compare it to number 23, which is the first 3 issues of Generation X, which, I think are outstanding in terms of putting those characters together, have great art. Where would you rank it up against Generation X?
I think I like those 3 issues of Generation X better.
Okay. Well, then right below that, we have the dupe issue of Wolverine and the X-Men with Mike Allred.
Real good. That issue's real good. It's probably the best piece of dupe we've ever had.
Uh-huh.
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
Let's go below the dupe one-shot, but above the first issue of X-Statix.
I can get behind that. I think that's a really respectable place, and that would put it at our new 25.
Yeah, cracking the top 25. Matty
Nice
Rose, what a
job.
good showing, my man. I'm so proud. I know you don't listen to this podcast, but if you did, you'd be very... I think you should be filled with a sense of completion, like your life's work has been done. And now you can spend the rest of your life just knowing that you have gone past the peak.
And so again, to reiterate, if you haven't read it, go check it out.
Yeah, it's good stuff. This is good. This is good.
This wasn't the only time that the New Mutants bought it. So where are we going next? We got more death on the way.
Yeah, we're gonna go way back.
Okay.
To an event. Do you remember about Secret Wars 2?
Oh, the one where Spider-Man teaches the Beyonder to poop?
Yes, that one. It's not the second story called Secret Wars. It's not the story called Secret War. It's Secret Wars 2.
That's right. That's
Man.
right. The one where Beyonder gets a Jerry curl and decides to wreak havoc in the Marvel Universe.
The one where Boom Boom gets introduced?
That's correct. Yes. So there are some benefits to Secret Wars 2. Unfortunately, as we learned in New Mutants 37, one of the things in the crossovers that happens is that the Beyonder decides he's going to kill the New Mutants.
Yeah, we're not talking about 37, though nope. I did reread this for this. And, dang, that's a dark issue. That one's rough. That one's a hard read.
Well, and then if you want to catch up on what's going on before the issues we're going to talk about, the end of Secret Wars 2 shows why the New Mutants aren't actually dead. And do you want to share why that happens, Zach? Because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, the Beyonder remade all the New Mutants in his cloning vat.
Yeah.
So all the New Mutants are not actually the original New Mutants, which I forgetting about that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I don't even know if reading my first run through of New Mutants, I remembered that. And kids, if you weren't reading New Secret Wars 2, you'd be pretty baffled as to what's going on at the beginning of New Mutants 38. So what issues are we covering here? 38 through 40?
Yeah, we're going to cover 38 through 40, which is tentatively titled Aftermath.
Right.
So here's what happens. You know how Uncanny X-Men is going on right now, right?
Yes.
As it should always be. You know how something happened, and spoilers for recent Matty Rose comics. You know how Cyclops is a Cyclops right now?
Yes. Shot in the eye.
Got shot in the eye, yeah.
By his granddaughter.
Yes. That's not the only pun-based change that happened in X-Men, because Banshee's a Banshee right now, and no one picked up on that. And that's essentially what the New Mutants are right now. They are husks. They are like lifeless, and they are just like zombie walking through their day.
Yeah, and it couldn't happen at a worse time because Professor X has flown off to space and left them in the care of their cousin, Michael Xavier, aka Magneto.
Yeah, his long lost cousin.
I don't understand why anyone buys that cover. Like, it's clearly Magneto. He's an internationally known supervillain. He puts on a suit and he's
wearing a hat. Yes. You don't expect supervillains to be running children's schools.
I guess that's true.
Which is shocking because 2 of them do it in this story. Anyway, this is a Chris Claremont joint. Daddy Chris is writing this one with pencils by Rick Leonardi, Keith Pollard, and Jackson Geiss.
Yes, and inks by
Kyle Baker, Del Barres, and
Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, Sink. He does it.
And covers by Art Adams.
Yeah, the covers are real good.
Real good.
That first one on 38 where they're all climbing out of graves, that's pretty good. That one where Emma Frost is mannequinning all of the New Mutants? Oh, because they become Hellions in this story?
Well, this issue 38 begins with the New Mutants seemingly going through a danger room sequence and then walking out to their graves and burying themselves. And Magneto is, just kind of racked with guilt that he has no idea what he's doing. And so he basically just transfers them to the Massachusetts school, where he hopes that Emma Frost can kind of heal these zombie kids, because they're just walking around kind of agreeing with everything. And Danny is the only one that really seems to have her act together. Gets visited by Thor in his frog form.
Yeah, I forgot that Frog Thor was in this story.
Yeah. The New Mutants become Hellions, and Magneto gets to kind of profess his love for these kids by fighting off the Avengers.
Yeah, because he realizes that he made a horrible choice. Because Emma Frost, for whatever she is today, was a supervillain who taught children while wearing skimpy lingerie. Which,
yes,
man, I'm not a teaching professional, but that does not seem up to code.
No, it doesn't. However, she does fix, quote unquote, these test tube New Mutants who have been recreated and restores their personalities. So points for that. A real villain here is Empath, who, wow, savage.
Empath just does very bad things to everyone involved, including making Tom Corsi and Sharon Freelander burn with fiery passions that would make the Apostle Paul upset.
Can I ask a stupid question, though?
I'd love to hear your stupid question about this.
All right. So we have Tom and Sharon.
Yeah.
And Empath basically tells them, like, hey, go love each other till you can't love each other anymore. When they reappear, they are now suddenly punk rockers with piercings, with they're clad in leather. They've shaved different parts of their head and they're wearing different gold bangles. I'm just curious, like, why was that part of the equation?
Look, I like to think that we are a family friendly podcast here. So I'm gonna handle this the best I can. Chris Claremont has a little more in common with now 2-time recurring character on this show, Christian Grey, than I think anyone's comfortable with.
I knew you were going to go there. All right.
I wasn't planning on it. You set up this bit. This was not in my show notes. But
no, I just
am I wrong?
Get it. No, but like, why every time? I mean, look, why?
Don't yuck in his yum.
Yeah.
That's something. That's a narrative trope that he likes to continue to go through. Yes. I don't want to besmirch Daddy Chris because I don't know what Daddy Chris is into. I just know that Daddy Chris does use a lot of daddy tropes in his stuff. Man, Daddy Chris, come on,
boy. So this whole story culminates with Magneto fighting off the 80s Avengers, and it's not a great lineup. And then the New Mutants come and help Magneto, and everybody's happy, and they come home to the Xavier School.
Can we talk about how bad these Avengers are?
They're so useless. Like, they have no abilities whatsoever. I guess
they aren't all the worst, actually, now that I look at it. Like, Captain America's good. Monica Rambeau, good. She was in Next Wave. Very good. Wasp.
It's just,
fine.
It's
Name
not
more.
The lineup. It's what they do. Like, the only person that seems to have any combat ability here is Namor.
Black Knight's also on this team. And Black Knight, I've told this story before. Black Knight, when they were doing the USA Avengers 50 states variant, I was so excited because I'm a proud son of Ohio. And, while Ohio has a plethora of problems, I do represent that state. And they gave us Black Knight.
That's a shame.
And I was very upset. To the point where I chose not to buy it because I hate Black Knight so much. He might be my least favorite Avenger. It's up there. Like, if they gave us Dr. Druid, I'd say fine. But Black Yeah,
the magic.
he has the ebony blade. You know about the ebony blade, right? It's an
I
evil
really
sword. It's an evil
sure.
sword that's been passed down since King Arthur times. Also, tangent not related to this story, except for that Black Knight's in both of them. You've heard about the Knights of the Round Table, right?
Say that one more time.
The Knights of the Round Table. They dance
Yeah,
whenever they're
Knights-
able.
Yeah. Knights of the Round Table.
Well, you've heard the story of King Arthur and how his beloved Guinevere had relations with good Sir Lancelot and
Yes.
and caused the downfall of the Arthurian Empire.
Uh-huh.
You know that's because Pete Wisdom hit on Guinevere so bad that she got so mad that she went to Lancelot for comfort.
Are you serious?
That's 100% hand to God a real thing that happened in these Marvel comics, not these
Pete
ones.
Wisdom. I don't think I hate any Marvel character more than that.
Pete Wisdom ruined King Arthur. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, he's the worst. These issues are not great.
No, they're not the best.
No.
There's some good stuff with Danny in it. I
Yes.
like the concepts of the fact that the New Mutants went through a super traumatic experience and they are still processing it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the specific execution in this story is fabulous.
No, and it is very odd that it culminates with this fight with the Avengers. Like, I just don't really understand why that is the way that Magneto gets to win the kids back.
It's because he proved that that he loved these kids so much that he was willing to fight the Avengers for them.
I do absolutely love the cover of New Mutants 40, though, because it's Captain America knocking out Magneto, and there is a wacky Barry Windsor Smith Warlock kind of going, "Oh no," in the background.
It's pretty good. That one's
It's
pretty
crazy.
good.
Anyway, I don't think this is that memorable.
It's
the-
not
the-
that
the
bad
covers-
either. Like, I had a good time reading it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's bad. I just, it's not sticking with me that much, and I like New Mutants a lot.
So let's see. What's some New Mutant stories we have on this list?
Well,
It's not as good as Slumber Party. Not as good as Dead Souls. Not as good as Inferno.
all right. All the way down at 174, we have the summer special. I'm assuming you would argue this is better than the summer special.
I wouldn't have to argue it because that's an objective fact.
Okay. What else do we have? Fall of the Mutants is down at 188, so we know we're not going that low.
No, here's
How about
one.
Steal This Planet at 104?
I like Steal This Planet better.
Okay, so we know we're going lower than 104. What were you going to say?
I like this better than Fatal Attractions in the first Juggernaut story at 126-ish.
Okay, yeah, that's a good place on the list.
But I don't like it more than that Miss Marvel story, the 2-part team up with Wolverine.
Yeah, that is at
123.
123. Okay. Huh. But do you like it better than Jump the Shark, which is where Wolverine and Spider-Man switch bodies in the Ultimate Universe?
Yes.
You do. Okay, so better or worse than first appearance of Juggernaut?
Exactly worse.
Okay. So this would be our new 128?
Yeah, this is going to be our new 128, New Mutants
I think that's a great
Aftermath.
spot for it.
I had to think on that one.
No, I think that makes sense. That first Juggernaut appearance is really fun and pretty solid.
Yeah. So we've got one last story, and I don't know if it's better than that New Mutant story, but it's defo more interesting.
Oh, it is a doozy, man.
Yeah, so this is from 1997. It's The New Mutants, Truth or Death.
Ooh. Spooky.
It's written by perpetual fill-in writer Ben Robb, with pencils by Bernard Chang.
This is a very peculiar part in continuity, too. Like, this is Road Trip X-Force. Like, we're right on the verge of that, right?
Yeah, this is like right before the road trip starts.
Mm-hmm. And for folks who have never heard of this, because I had never heard of this before I read it, this is basically the New Mutants pulling a Bendis all-new X-Men. And
it kinda is?
Yeah, it's the original lineup who basically decide that they are going to... Illyana's going to use her powers to go check out what they're doing in the future.
Well. Let's talk about how this comes about, because it's a very New Mutants way to do it. The power goes out, so they play Truth or Dare.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, it is called Truth or Death.
Yeah, there's that in there. And everyone's doing stuff. Rain doesn't like Truth or Dare.
Of course not.
They say they played Truth or Dare for 4 hours, and no one's making out yet, which seems like this is not how teens play Truth or Dare.
Yeah, no one plays Truth or Dare for 4 hours. But Warlock does very wisely defer that Danny is the leader of the team, which I think is a wonderful moment.
Because he thinks that's going to be the most political answer.
Exactly.
He explicitly says, well, Cannonball's not going to punch me.
Yeah, and I really like the artwork here. Bernard Chang is doing the artwork, and he does some pretty good facial expressions as we go through here.
See, I think he's fine. I don't know, maybe it's the inking on this, or maybe it's that 1997 coloring. But something about the art in this just doesn't sit right with me.
Okay. I think it may be more about the color separation. We get a lot of gradients going on here. Mark Pennington is doing the inks here, and you're right. It's very thick, but he does a great Warlock. I feel like he's got a very good handle on these characters. But by coming to the future, obviously we're risking the time-space what am I trying to say?
You're trying to say space-time continuity.
No, that's
continuum.
What I'm trying to say. Continuum. Thank you. But there's an additional wrinkle to this, and that is that everybody's least favorite Rasputin is involved in this story.
Well, except for the Russian monarchs. They probably have a least favorite Rasputin, who is not Mikhail.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's true.
I mean, look, fair. They were rich, and no matter how much someone tries to tell me that Anastasia was good... You know what? I actually don't know enough about Russian history to know which side of this I should be on. Everyone seems like they all made mistakes long term.
I was just trying to introduce the incredibly annoying Mikhail, who has been trying to contact Illyana throughout the timeline, and whose motivations here are very mixed. I'm not even sure, having read all 3 issues of this, that I completely understand what he was out to do.
Here's what I think he was out to do.
Okay.
Mikhail Rasputin. This is post drowning all the Morlocks. The Morlocks take Manhattan on our list.
So he's dead.
He's dead. Except for he's not, because they went to the Hill, which was this alternate dimension that was explored in the Storm miniseries. Was that a Warren Ellis joint?
I have no idea.
Anyway, the Storm miniseries, we're going to look that up as I keep talking here. So this is late Mikhail Rasputin. He has found out that he has contracted the legacy virus.
Oh, right.
But he does think that his magic sister will be able to absorb the legacy virus and not get it. By the way, Storm was written by Warren Ellis with art by Terry Dodson.
Classic.
It's not a great story.
Never read it.
Good. I mean,
combo.
look. We should read it for the show. It's interesting, to say the least. Anyway, and he wants to save Illyana from dying in the future. Which, by the way, because all the X-Force-y, Excalibur-y New Mutants know that Illyana is dead in the future, and she finds that out because that's when they went to the future to find. And then Mikhail says, "Well, I can save her." And I don't know how he's going to save her, but Illyana doesn't want to die, which, fair.
Well, but it's also very strange. Like, the way it's explained is that Illyana is going to die of the legacy virus. But Illyana kind of dies in Inferno. Like, she doesn't because she's de-aged, but the Illyana who's in this story is going to essentially not be, because she's not going to have any memories of that experience. So there's a little bit of a wrinkle here that no one is willing to tell Ileana. Similarly, no one is willing to tell Doug and Warlock what's going on either, because we've got Douglock here in this story.
Douglock is here. I like how they say, so wait, why are you dressed like Doug?
Yeah. Yep. And then he's basically like, yeah, I really thought they were great, so I look like them.
And everyone just buys it, but frankly, if
Yeah.
I'm the New Mutants, that's not the weirdest thing I've seen today.
Yeah, so really the bottom line here is that we have a retcon here, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because this kind of suggests that the reason that Ileana, as a child, became infected is because of Mikhail's actions in this story.
Yeah, Mikhail, science, voodoo magic, transferred his legacy virus to her.
Yeah.
But it laid
Purposefully,
dormant
though,
for
it seems.
years. He thought Ileana could take it. Like, he thought that her demon powers would get rid of it, and it didn't.
That's some very strange logic, Mikhail. But you're a psychopath, so...
Hey, he makes his own wine, so he's probably cordial about it.
Yeah, that tracks.
Mikhail doesn't strike me as a mean person. He strikes me as a troubled man who has done some very bad things.
Oh, he's an utter psychopath. He
Yes.
gets to dress in some really fun techno outfits here with some, helmet and paneling, and it's very strange. I just think that it's a wild that this series exists. And the way that the legacy virus is treated as almost like it's cancer, like the idea that there are these cells inside of any of these characters that could then give them the legacy virus later, which is very, very different from the way it's handled, in the rest of continuity, where it's something you contract. I don't know. It's very interesting.
I'm not a bioscience expert. I know that if you want that kind of podcast content, go somewhere else. Maybe Chris is on Infinite Earth. I don't know. But it ain't me, fam. Ain't me. And also not the writers of Marvel Comics, because they don't know how the legacy virus works either.
Oh, nobody does. It's just whatever's convenient at the moment. But it is also interesting that the New Mutants almost escaped this scenario with their memories intact. It's, if not for a last minute karma, zapping them, they would still recall all of this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of like the fact that this could be a precursor to, say, an all-new X-Men or something like that, because it does so many interesting things with these characters and with this story, and I'd love to see it expanded on just a little bit more sometime in the future. Like, this is such a cool concept. It goes into one of my favorite times in X-Force / the Once and Future New Mutants timeline, which is the late 90s, which, guys, it's not collected and it's fabulous.
Well,
it's actually 50% fabulous, 50% just dreck about the deviants. But
hey, you take what you can get, right? But it would be kind of fascinating to see this team in this this time period. There's a great panel with Danny looking at a framed picture of Generation X and going, who the heck are these kids? And even their encounters with their future selves are interesting, the way that they interact with each other.
Yeah. Man, I like it. I don't love this story. I love the concepts in it. There's a reason why the Bendis stuff is better. It's because, Ben Robb, everything has led me to believe you are a nice gentleman. I have no reason to understand otherwise. And I know that you are still, like, living and working as an adult in this world. So if you happen to listen to this podcast, like, I'm not sure how much of your X-Men stuff was good. Ben Robb was never, like, bad. He was also never great. I don't know what the line for, like, the baseline, you sure are a comic book writer, is in today's day and age. And I don't think I want to throw names of current creators, because that could get insulting. But, like, They are the Yaris. Ben Robb is the Yaris, the Toyota Yaris. You know about that car? That it is a car?
Tell me more about this. Please tell me more about this metaphor.
No, it's just like it was a kind of entry-level, lower-cost Toyota sedan that they put out.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
With a silly name.
So
that's Ben Robb. He's the
comparing a human being to an entry-level sedan.
He's the you want a baseline of quality. You want a baseline of competency and reliability. You're not going to get anything flashy. You might get a few people making fun of you, but you're not going to be like angry about it. And that's Ben Robb. Work on the X-Men. He's not defined as a person by his work on the X-Men. However, on this podcast, maybe I'm lying.
I'm going to go to bat for him in his characterization. He does a really nice job with Warlock. He does a really good job of making Douglock kind of likable. There's great dynamics between Cannonball and Rain. And this is ultimately kind of confusing sometimes, having these characters that ultimately are not that different in age interacting with one another, but it's handled pretty well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, on that note, I do think the art sometimes does suffer in the fact that I can't necessarily tell the older version from the younger version of a handful of these characters. Cannonball and Karma. Mm-hmm. Wolfsbane, at least you can defo tell the difference. Danny Moonstar, not so much. No,
it becomes tricky when, different teams are kind of locked up. And, the core conceit of this, which involves this retcon of Mikhail giving Ileana the legacy virus, I just don't like it. The more fun thing that could be happening here are the interactions between the two generations of the team. And those happen, but they're incidental to the Mikhail story. So I'm not as hip to that. This is definitely still worth checking out. It's not on Unlimited, but definitely worth tracking down the back issues.
Yeah, go dig this one up. Like if you pull this out of a long box, pick it up. You'll enjoy these.
Yeah, if you're a New Mutants fan, this is an interesting peculiarity that I think you would get a kick out of.
Now, we are New Mutants fans.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some New Mutant stories.
Mm-hmm.
Is this better or worse than Aftermath?
Okay, where's Aftermath on our list?
128.
128. All right. This is a tough one.
I think it's a tough one. I
don't think this is as good as original New Mutants run. That has Sienkiewicz doing inks on a lot of it. I think that's an arc that, despite the fact that I don't love it so much, I think it made a huge impact on a lot of readers.
Oh, yeah. Better or worse than number 139 on our list right now, Wolverine, Cocaine.
I like Cocaine better, which is a weird sentence to say. I like that story better. I like the Wolverine story better. I feel like we're in the right area though on the list, because like at 140 we've got UXM 300. The Vegas arc is
300 better.
Yeah, but like it's kind of on par with the XFI 207 to 213 Vegas arc at 142.
Yeah, because it's better than 141, which is the special edition X-Men #1 backup.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably a good place for it then. Below 300? Or do you want to go lower?
I'm trying to remember. That Vegas story has a lot of flaws. It also has Thor teaming up with X-Factor to infiltrate Hela's casino and fight zombie Vikings, like at Skyrim.
Oh, yeah. No, it has some cool concepts. It's just, especially the art on that story suffers, unfortunately.
We'll put it right above it because I'm not that picky about that story.
So we're putting it at 142?
141.
141. Okay, great. That's a good place for it.
Or death. And guys, that closes up this episode. I had a lot of fun today.
Oh,
I feel like I learned some things.
Yeah, this is cool. Check these stories out. If you're a New Mutants fan, you'll like them.
Now, this episode was made possible by long-term friend of the show, Charlie Davis. Charlie has been one of the biggest supporters for the Battle of the Atom podcast that we've ever had. I think Charlie has been our largest supporter for the longest time.
Yeah, Charlie's a huge supporter of Bish and Jubes as well. It's been around since the beginning, so, thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, go check out their podcast. You've heard it pitched on here several times, but it is called The Young Ones. They talk about teen superheroes and why they love them. They are currently talking about Wolverine and the X-Men, which, boy, we got some mixed feelings on those. So, now, if you want to be like Charlie, you got to start your own podcast and then hound every artist, writer, and editor that you can, preaching the gospel of shattered stars. Or you can go over to patreon.com/XavierFiles, pitch in any amounts of money that you want, and we'll rank a story that you selected. We've got spots filled up through December, so we gotta like get your things in, get your monies in, and we'll sort something out. I'm really excited. If there's so many stories, like here's the curse about Patreon, and I love the patrons. You guys make this podcast possible. They suggest stories and they have good suggestions, and then I have an idea for an episode, and then I'm like, oh dang, but now I have to wait till next year to do it.
Well, that's the curse of having a lot of people make a lot of requests, and so it's a bad problem to have.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, it's a good problem to have. That's what I meant to say. I promise.
It is. We may have an Easter special for next year. Percolating in my head. I'm going to need to get someone who knows about popes and work from there. But
I like that idea.
But also, if you can't support the show monetarily, that's perfectly okay. A lot of people can't. It's all right. You can just tell a friend about the podcast. It's a lot of fun. Maybe some of you are listening for the first time coming out of Gem City Comic-Con, in which case, wow, that worked, suckers. And thank you for listening, I guess. This is an awkward pause. Follow me on Twitter at XavierFiles, and then XavierFiles.com is my website where I do stuff and things. I think by the time this has come up, or at least shortly after, I will have a long piece about all of my thoughts on what Jonathan Hickman's going to do, which the editor of the X-Men line says he was very skeptical about me being right, and then I explained the basis of my theory, and he says, no, that sounds like something Jonathan would do. The basis of my theory was puns, and he said, yeah, okay, you're on to something.
I like your theories, so I'm excited to see them get published and get out there.
They were jokes until I realized that a pun worked really well, and then I said, no, that's too good not to be true.
It's going to be fun to see how it checks out with the real thing.
If I get anything right, if I'm spot on about anything, I'm going to call it a victory.
I think you may. I think you're onto something.
I think I'm kind of onto something too, which is terrifying because it's just wild enough to work. This is not the, well, maybe Quentin Quire is going to be evil and attack people and Pixie's going to murder them, and that's why the Inhumans hate the X-Men. No, this is going to be good stuff. This is wild. You couldn't write this fan fiction, except Jonathan Hickman is. Adam, where can people find your literal fan fiction that's very good?
All right, guys, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy, and I have new pages of Bish and Jubes, the Cross-Time Conundrum, coming out every X-Men Monday at adamrec.tumblr.com.
Oh, and guys, I definitely have black and white copies of the Xavier Files zine from last year that I got printed especially for Gem City Comic-Con, and I'm just betting that I didn't sell out. Let's be real. And then I also have copies of Wolverine Adamantium Chef. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably still have a couple copies of the Adam X one. I didn't print new ones because, frankly, I don't think that works as well as a standalone thing without knowing a handful of my jokes. But
boy.
But anyway, we'll move on, because next week we're going to be talking about Beast. Have you heard of him? He's blue and furry.
He's blue. He's furry. He makes questionable scientific decisions.
He makes questionable love decisions, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but that's going to be fine. It's going to be good. Not just fine. It's going to be great. But until then, guys, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!
Also, happy birthday to my wife. Today's her birthday. She's old, and she should feel bad about that. I love you, babe.